We're going to have a great video today because we're going to talk about Alliance Wars in Marvel Strike Force. A lot of people are coming to the game and they want to know what the difference is between Alliance Wars versus Territory Wars because a lot of people are coming over from Galaxy of Heroes. So we're going to do a general overview of the two different things, and we're bringing along McBall this morning. Say what's up, McBall?
What's going on, everybody? Woo! It's gonna be a fun video.
Yes, and McBall's been playing Marvel Strike Force for about 6 months, and we've been talking for about an hour now about all the differences in the game modes and how it plays out and some of the things that you like about it and don't like about it. Overall, we like, I think I like Alliance Wars better. It's just different than Territory Wars. We're gonna talk about the key differences, of course, right?
Yeah.
It's fun, right? Okay, so there's some key things we're going to go over in this video, and I just want to give an outline for what we're talking about. We're going to talk about how that this is a race to finish and to defeat the helicarrier as opposed to efficiency. And we're going to talk about how there's a limited number of attacks and how to manage resources and things like that. And the second thing we're going to talk about at length is how it's different when you lose a battle as far as backing out, saving teams, cooldowns to reset. And in the other game, you actually preload turn meter, which is a mess. Everybody loves preloaded turn meter, right?
That is the worst.
Yes.
The absolute worst.
We're going to talk about the room bonuses and how they affect some key room bonuses that you have to be mindful of, or you've been, and how it's very, 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 very different than Blitz. And certain teams actually play very different than Blitz. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some super awesome tools that your guild leadership can set up. Now, you don't use this one, right?
I do not use the MSF PAL, but I do use Warbot.
But you do use Warbot, and I did not use Warbot. You actually showed me Warbot, and I gotta say, this is a must-have. Now, that being said, what we're not gonna talk about in this video is how to set this stuff up, because it is a guild leadership issue. So we're not talking about guild leadership issues, which is what rooms to attack when, what lanes to go down, where to place your rooms, because that is a concept that is usually reserved for about 3 people in each alliance. So this is for the other people. Basically the assumption is that you're in an alliance where your alliance can go out and set up the toolbot, and your alliance can set up the PAL, where I'm not offering instructions how to do that. I'm just saying that they're important. And then they're going to, you're an alliance, they set everything up, right? As far as the room placements, everything like that. Yeah, the assumption is that you're an alliance and they know how they want to set up the helicarrier and the room placement, things like that, because that is a different level of complexity that the other 20 people in your alliance are not interested in. We're talking about what the other 20 people are thinking about. So that's been your experience and my experience. Would you say you don't have to think about that kind of stuff? You just pretty much attack where you're told?
Yeah, it's nice now to have to worry about all the room placements and everything. I'll leave that to leadership. Yep.
Okay, so first things first, the biggest difference that I've noticed between this game mode and the other game modes in Galaxy of Heroes is that this is a time-based race versus a efficiency race. What is your thoughts on that? What's been your experience with that concept?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with Territory Wars is you've got to win that first attack, because if you don't, you start losing banners, and scores all based on banners, and that one's pretty stressful. I mean, because even if you're not in a hardcore guild for that, it's a pain in the butt. But with Alliance Wars, it's all just about just defeating the teams. Like, no matter how many attacks it takes, you're still going to get the same amount of points no matter what happens.
Right. So then it becomes an issue of that you have a limited number of attacks, and the main thing is that it's time based. So I believe that now currently there are 4 different time zones, and so you're in the way here of when my war starts, but my war starts, I'm going to toggle you on and off so they can see that. But basically the war time starts at a certain time, and I got to say that because it is time based and time zone based, for my alliance, they really want everybody there at the start of the war to get as many attacks as possible early, and depending on what your alliance thinks is a good number. But throughout the course of the 24-hour war, there's basically 8 free attacks, and typically we're expected to have 2 right at the start of the battle, but maybe 2 more or 3 more right out of the gate. and then it becomes an issue of managing resources. So you were kind of surprised to hear how I have to work the Blitz store. What do you do with what does your alliance require? How does it go down for you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, we're not hardcore like you guys are. Like, you're in Hydra Space Aliens. You guys are hardcore with war. You're one of the top alliances in the game with Alliance War. But for us, I mean, we're a bit more casual. I mean, I think we require like 6 or 7 battles an Alliance War, so we don't have to spend money on the energy packs and the defense boosts and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we're free to spend our Blitz currency on characters and stuff. But
right.
I mean, for you've got to go drop it all on those things, and there you go. You got the pack of shame pulled up right now.
Yeah, it just happened to pop up and knew we were talking about it. The Marvel Strike Force is listening to us. So this currency is what's going to to optimize the number of attacks, and technically the most number of attacks you can have in a war is 12. And the only way to do that is to have your energy, your resources maxed out. And it's actually challenging to do without spending the $9 or refreshing the Blitz store if you have tons of Blitz currency. And this is, I think, for early alliances, this Blitz currency is important to unlock characters. Like you're going to need Gamora and so on, and Mantis to get Star-Lord. For me, it seems like most of this currency goes for the defense boost and the war energy refill. And I actually run a deficit just by playing milestones, and I rarely have extra energy for new characters like Toad. So this is where that currency is acquired. It's important, and like I said, it's a race to finish first, and getting in early is the basic strategy, and knowing when your alliance war starts and getting as many attacks done quickly and following your alliance suggestions. And it seems like it's a race to get to the armory, but every alliance has a different strategy with the room placement and stuff. But I wanted to talk about something that is very different, and that is how backing out works and how saving teams work. So talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so the big thing with Territory Wars is that if you fail a fight, the enemy team now has preloaded turn meter, which means they're all going to pretty much go first.
In Galaxy of Heroes, it's a mess, yeah.
Yeah, it's a freaking mess, especially if you have like a high-speed team. It's awful. One of the beautiful, and I love this about Alliance Wars, if you lose a match in Alliance Wars, everyone resets their speed bar to 0.
Yeah.
And this is actually kind of like, we'll talk about this with some of the teams like Asgardians and Black Order. Like, it's actually quite a bit easier to lose that first match, and then you can go on that second match because they've blown a lunch of their big abilities. Yeah. You can punch way up on them.
Okay, so if you're losing a match, you have two choices basically. You have the choice of backing out and then reusing the team later, or you go ahead and let you lose. And there are certain situations where you always want to do that, always lose. Yeah. Because certain teams are very combo dependent, and we're going to only talk about one because this does change from month to month to month to month, and that is with Asgardians. Asgardians has this 1-2 punch with Loki putting defense down, and then that's followed up by Hela spreading defense down to the whole team. And basically, if you lose to that team and that combo is already gone off, the person that comes in behind you, it's like a night and day, 1,000 times easier battle versus the first time. So in my opinion, nobody should ever cancel out a battle versus Asgardians. Like if you go in against Asgardians and you lose, that's fine. You just save the person behind you a lot of heartache. And there's other subtleties too. Like if you're playing against Ultron, and if you leave Ultron with less than 100% health, you probably should leave that battle alone, because then he won't revive. Same thing if you're playing against Thanos and the Black Order. If you get Thanos to do his ultimate, maybe you should stop the battle there, because then the person behind you doesn't have to deal with that. Or if you can kill one member of the Black Order, Thanos won't be empowered, which makes it a night. So there's a lot of, and we're not going to get too much in the nuanced things, but there's situations where saving the team makes sense, and there's situations for where ensuring that you get a loss and you did a little bit of something so the person. So tell me about that experience with you.
With just like the backing out and losing.
Yeah. Typically, when do you back out, and typically when do you leave the battle? Or what are you doing most of the time? Because I actually rarely back out anymore. We have so many offensive teams.
I don't think I've ever really backed out. I mean, I always, if it's like something like Hydra too, like Hydra's another big one, because as that fight goes on, you're taking out the minions. He loses the charge, and he has like 8 stacks at the start. But yeah, I mean, it's the only times you should really back out is if you're going in and you're attacking, and you either can't clear them in time enough, or their ultimate has come back up, or you just haven't made a scratch on the team.
Yeah,
like
if you made no dents,
if you're doing nothing
yeah.
but just giving them ability energy, there's no point in posting that battle.
Yeah, and you can back out and save the team. But I think that it's probably because there's a limited number of attacks, and most of the time just saving the attack makes more sense. It depends. But anyhow, let's talk about how this game mode is very different than Blitz. I think the best place to learn this game is Blitz, and play a lot of Blitz, especially when you get into the higher tiers, 7 and 8, where you get to really learn some of the mechanics. Now, the teams play differently in War than they do in Blitz, because there's certain teams that have bonuses. And let's just talk about some key teams that play very differently on defense. And we're not going to get into too many details because this actually changes from time to time. But believe me, Mercs play night and day differently on defense.
Oh my god.
Believe me, Shield Coulson plays differently on defense. Believe me, as Guardians play differently on defense. And my god, Red Skull is the cheesiest team out there. That requires only a handful of counters. And we're gonna go into this cool tool called Warbot that gives suggestions for counters for teams, so that you know what, when you come up a team, what to do. But talking about comparing your experience Blitz to War is a mistake, and it's important to know that teams play differently, and you have to rely on that Warbot. Now, let's talk about room bonuses and defense up and defense down.
Well, yeah, one of the things to mention real quick, just look at passives. Like the passives for your characters, they'll have like in War defense does XYZ, and like use that and determine, is this going to like make a huge difference? Like that's how you be able to tell, like if they have a huge amount of bonuses for defense or for War, you're gonna know that they're gonna play a whole lot differently than Blitz. Because I mean, like Mercenaries, the first one you brought up, like on Blitz they're okay, but in War defense, Mercenaries are nasty.
Oh yeah, they play entirely differently, and there's only a couple teams that counter them, and so using this other tool, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Well, let's talk about it now because we're already here. And this is a tool that your alliance is going to have to set. It's called the Warbot, and I do not use this, and I'm going to start using this because my goodness, I kind of know the counters, but I don't expect anybody to know the counters. So ask your alliance to seek out this bot if you do not have it, or join a cluster that does have it. MSF Warbot, and then there's you type in w.teams. It lists out all the offensive teams and all of the counters, all the codes for them. And then for like me, what I did is I hit w.c NFC, which is Nick Fury Coulson, and then it has a 380k power, and then it gave a suggestion right here on how to beat them. And interestingly enough, the team there's 2 teams that I use against this, and that is OG X-Men and Brotherhood right here. And I almost always use Brotherhood, so it's like it's already telling me that I could use a relatively low power Brotherhood to beat that, and it's fine. So how often do you use this tool?
I use it all the time. And one other thing to point out too is, we'll talk about the room bonuses, is like for certain teams they'll tell you, like if you're using this counter, you need these T4s, or like what room they're in. Like for Asgardians, if you're using symbiotes, you need that T4 on Carnage's passive. And
right
yeah,
there.
like that stuff right there, not in the reactor.
Not in the reactor.
You do not want to use Brotherhood in the reactor because of that room bonus.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's the second thing that I think Galaxy of Heroes players are going to be confused about, or are not. Something that blindsided me in this game was how powerful defense up and defense down is, which in Galaxy of Heroes, it's not an important thing. But defense up in this game means that they take 50% less damage, and defense down on me means I take 50% more damage. And
Yeah.
being mindful of those bonuses. When you go into battle, next to your team, you'll see a red shield. You're going to get destroyed. And if they have a green shield on their team, it's talk about that for a minute, about how crazy the difference is between those two.
Yeah, I mean, for Galaxy Heroes, it's just like boosting your armor, and that's like based on exponential scales. It doesn't have that big of a difference, but defense down is a flat 50% damage increase that your team's gonna take. Like, it's a flat percentage. There's no like math behind it. So yeah, defense down is a huge deal if you've got it on your team, because you're just gonna get spanked. It's
Right.
not fun. So yeah, I mean, like these values that we see here with Warbot, we have to like add on like 5 or 10,000 based on the room bonuses and what's going on there too, because that will drastically affect how the team fights.
Okay, so to wrap up everything we talked about, the main thing is encourage your alliance to use this MSF pal.gg and have a plan on what teams that your alliance wants to put on defense and what teams you want to save for offense. Every alliance has certain guidelines and a lot of flexibility based on your roster, but it's important to have some feedback from your alliance and to know which team should go on offense and which team should go on defense. And you could see quite quickly here on this sheet, the green teams are teams that I'm using on defense, and the red teams are teams that I'm using on offense. Some of these are static things that are always the same, and some things are situational and based on what I just want to do. Like Black Order can do both. Hero Brawlers can do both. Mercs has to be on defense. Marauders has to be on defense. Coulson has to be on defense. This could go either way. Typically, you want Captain Marvel on defense. Asgardian has to be on defense. Red Skull has to be on defense. And then these other teams are like situational too, on the rest of them being on offense. Most of these are like Power Armor has to be on offense and so on. And so does Mercenaries. But yeah, this is like having a plan. And the thing is, I don't want to get too much detail into that because it changes every month, right? And it's definitely like a meta when it comes to war, and it changes all the time. And my thoughts today will be different a month from now or even a week from now as new teams are being added. But knowing this stuff is important. Encourage your alliance to set up a war bot. Okay, that's a good thing. And then understanding that it's a race to finish, and it's about having the attacks early and being coordinated with your alliance and using Discord. And then secondly, backing out of a battle that you're losing is not usually the best situation if you've made any progress in the match, because you're just making it yes, you're saving a team, but most situations, making it easier for the person behind you is the smart move, because you have a limited number of attacks. And then lastly, don't get destroyed by defense up and defense down. Would you say that's a good place to start? I mean, as far as Alliance War?
Yeah, just pay attention to those room bonuses, because that's gonna hurt you if you're not paying attention to what's gonna happen there.
Okay, any thoughts about new players playing Alliance Wars? What do you think? Just it's really communication, right? Discord is everything on that, right?
Yeah, if you're a new player and you're coming to Alliance War, don't go hardcore right away, because if you're doing hardcore Blitz or hardcore Alliance War, you're having to spend a lot of that Blitz currency on those war packs and everything. Take time, because you got to build up some of those characters. Like we mentioned earlier, Gamora and Mantis for Star-Lord. Toad's in there now, and Toad's vital for Brotherhood 2.0. I mean, there's several good characters in Blitz that you need to have. Soon we'll have Miles Morales and the Young Avengers too. So spend time getting used to Alliance War before going hardcore.
Yeah, it seems to me it unlocks at level 40, but you really it's kind of a late game thing. It really is.
Yeah.
It's like
hardcore is totally end game stuff.
This is not like, well, just because you unlocked it at level 40, I wouldn't focus that much on it. I mean, there's other things that are more important, like your arena and raids for sure. Like this is like
100%.
Arena and raids is exponent, and unlocking legendaries is way more important than anything you can do in war. I mean, there are some nice rewards in war, but still, at the end of the day, it's late game stuff. All right, head over to McBowl2's channel. We had an excellent conversation over there about Squirrel Girl, but guess what time it is?
It is giveaway time.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's right. It's time for the giveaway. Well, I really hope you liked this video today, because if you did, you are in luck. For every single person that likes this video, you will be getting for free in your account an 8-star Dr. Disrespect. This is not a scam. Everybody's been wondering where Dr. Disrespect went, and why he's not on Twitch anymore, and it's because he signed a contract with Marvel Sark Force, and he's coming to the game as a playable character. You heard it here first. Could you imagine that? That'd be great. He's going to be a young Avenger with Squirrel Girl, is what I heard.
Oh God. I can't. Just like the image of him, just like right there.
Dude, he's really tall. He's like 6'8". Can you imagine him just being like towering over everybody? All right, head over to McMull2's channel because we did a video about Squirrel Girl and all of that good stuff. So we had some interesting thoughts about that as well. All right, guys, thanks for watching and keep on gaming. Bye.
Bye.